Welcome everybody to our final SEL Day Summit 2024. It has been an amazing day of folks sharing really fabulous ideas with lots of participation from all of you from across the country and around the world. And we'd like to know actually where you're connecting from right now. So please go right now into the comments area and please type in where you're connecting from, where you're located. Let us know what your organization is and what your role or title is. So feel free to go ahead and put that in the chat at any time right now. We'd like to be able to acknowledge you as we're starting off this final session of the day. I'm Jim Vetter. I'm the Executive Director of the Social Emotional Learning Alliance for the United States. And we are one of the organizations, along with 6 Seconds and with the Urban Assembly, who are putting on our SEL Day session for today. So we'd like to, before we jump into our final panel, we would like to be able to thank our sponsors. So we'd like to say a big thank you to Antioch University, our advocate level sponsor, to our supporter level sponsors, Second Step, Pure Edge, and Harmony Academy at National University. We'd also like to thank Responsive Classroom and Fly 5, the Ruler Program at Yale Center for Emotional Intelligence, as well as Satchel Pulse. And what you can do is find out more about all these sponsors by going to selday.org/exhibit. And I'd like to give it really a kind of a special thank you to our advocate level sponsor, that's Antioch University. And Antioch University's mission is to provide learner-centered education to empower students with the knowledge and skills to lead meaningful lives and to advance social, racial, economic, and environmental justice. And they have partnered with 6 Seconds and to put together one of the very few SEL-focused, social justice-focused doctoral programs in the world. So please do go to selday.org/exhibit and learn more. Click on the different sponsors, learn more about Antioch as well. And all right, we've got a bunch of folks here from LA Unified, fabulous. We've got folks from New Jersey, California, great. All right, San Francisco, fabulous. More New Jersey folks, look at this. Mexico, fabulous, fabulous, fabulous. Great to have folks with us from really both ends of the country. All right. So again, feel free to keep introducing yourselves. Please do type in the chat. Let us know where you're from as we head into this fabulous final session of the day. That this session takes our theme of today's students, tomorrow's leaders, and we are glad to hear from today's students. This is the student perspective. And I would like to introduce our student moderator, Sarah.
Hi, everyone. My name is Sarah, and I'm a senior here at LA Unified. I want to start off to welcome everyone to this session that will particularly focus on student well-being. I want to start off by also thanking the SEL4CA team, in particular, Dr. Amy Cranston, for inviting us. We applaud her vision for including student voices. Today, I'm honored to be here with my 5 amazing peers. The first one I would like to introduce you guys to is Carrot. She is an immigrant rights activist in the Los Angeles community and the LAUSD student board member. Next, I want to introduce Montse. She's an environmental justice activist in her senior year of high school. She is a very athletic person and loves to read and watch TV shows in her spare time. Then I want to introduce Ryan. He is a student leader and loves to play basketball and edits photos for his team's Instagram account. Now we have Ileana, and she is an advocate for the mental health and equal opportunities for her classmates. She enjoys playing the piano and learning new languages. So, I want to start by sharing LA Unified's definition of social and emotional learning. I think it will help us create a mutual understanding in today's session and help us all grow and proceed together. So, LAUSD defines a social emotional learning or SEL as the process through which all young people and adults acquire and apply the knowledge, skills, and attitudes to develop healthy identities, manage emotions, achieve personal and collective goals, feel and show empathy for others, establish and maintain supportive relationships, and make responsible and caring decisions. So, now knowing this in mind, I would love to start the panel discussion. So, for our first question, I want to start off with you, Karen. Thinking about the difference between classrooms where teachers implement social emotional learning and the ones that do not, what are some of the main differences that you experience?
So I have like two classes that I can compare. I take AP research and then I also have pre-calc. And in AP research, I think one of the things that we do to establish connections with the students is we have check-in every day in class. So we would look at a mood board that is created by students, and we number it 1 through 8, and we say, what are you feeling today? And if you want to share with the class, why? And then we basically choose one of the mood boards that represents us and how we feel, and we share it with our classmates. And I think one of the biggest things comparing it to pre-calc, where we just go straight into class and focus on the work, is that we're really able to establish connections with our peers. And even if the workload might be really hard that day in AP research, I'm just excited to be in class and connect with my peers. And I hear that a lot with my classmates, where we might not be looking forward sometimes to the classwork because it's so hard, but we just want to be in class because we know that our teacher's going to listen to us. We connect a lot with our peers. And so I think that's the biggest difference. We really feel the connections with our classmates.
Thank you so much for sharing, Karen. I really like to hear how the mood board helped you in your classroom. That sounds really fun. I would love to see that in my classroom, and I feel like other students will agree. It helps create that community. And now, Ileana, I want to ask you the same thing. What do you think about the differences between classrooms where teachers implement social emotional learnings and the ones that do not? So, what were your differences that you experienced?
I have noticed a very positive experience with the teachers that have implemented social emotional learning. For example, in one of my classes, they allow us to take brain breaks in the middle of the class. This makes us release our tension and feel more motivated. I've observed that my classmates are more eager to learn and to continue working on the class if they have a break in the middle because they feel more encouraged. Also, we have done emotional expression outlets such as doing art and crafts activities. For example, in AP biology, they made us do bracelets based on biology principles, and it was very fun because we got to connect with other classmates but also learn about the class. I've noticed that the students that were practicing SEL in their classes were more motivated, more engaged with the teachers, and also had more leadership positions. Another experience I've had was that in my school we have a peer counseling class only based on SEL principles. There we do meditation techniques, we write a gratitude journal at the beginning of the class saying what we feel thankful for. And I noticed that the students that finished taking that class were more efficient at managing their stress, at forming positive friendships, and demonstrated higher leadership and better results in their classrooms.
Thank you so much for sharing. I loved hearing how you actually took a social emotional learning class and how that had positive results for the students who took it. The bracelets from your AP Bio class sound really creative and fun. Like that's something I would love to do, and I know the other panelists are agreeing. The same question I would like to ask you, Brian. What are some differences that you experience with classes that have social emotional learning?
So for me, different classes of social emotional learning. So basically, my history teacher is one of the teachers that I believe demonstrates social emotional learning, and particularly he makes sure that he checks, sorry, he checks on all types of students, and he makes sure like they're doing well, and he always like tries to engage them in conversations, and he always does it in a way where it's like engaging, and it doesn't feel like you're necessarily talking to a teacher, but it's talking to like someone you trust and like a peer. And I feel like that's very important because having that connection with a teacher is someone that you can look back to and trust, and someone that you can always reach out for support. And I feel like compared to my other classes, I'm a lot more closer to my history teacher because of that connection. And that connection just overall helps me in class because I'm always motivated and I'm always like willing to work with him. So yeah, that's just my experience.
Thank you so much for sharing. It's really interesting to hear how like having social emotional learning can help strengthen relationships. I know that's a really positive thing, and that's something that we can also take into consideration. Now, same question. I want to ask you, Monse. Please share about your experiences.
Yeah, I specifically had a great experience with SEL in my Algebra 2 and my pre-calc class. So it was kind of a one semester we would learn Algebra 2, and then the next semester was pre-calc. And that teacher specifically really incorporated a lot of SEL implementations and tasks for us to do. Every morning we'd have a check-in, or sometimes we'd just talk about like our favorite song or something kind of outside of the subject matter that we were going to learn about. And I think that also got us to connect with our peers and our teachers so that they could learn more about us and we can learn more about them and feel more comfortable in the space. And then we also had a little corner where we could just take a break. We had some fidget toys, some plushies, some books, if we ever felt overwhelmed, because obviously math is such a hard topic to learn and process. But yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing. I really liked hearing how it helped you in subjects such as math because I know a bunch of students struggle with that. So we can see how the difference is felt. Also, Brian, can you see if your audio is working? Also, the other panelists as well. Um, and now we want to move to our next question. So now I would like to ask you all, how do teachers who implement social emotional learning throughout the day support your mental health? What is the connection between social emotional learning and mental health? So I would like to start off this time with Ileana.
So I wanted to share my own personal experience with ESL. I arrived to the country over only 1 year ago. When I first got here, I felt very lonely. I was going through a cultural shock and I was feeling confused and insecure in my classes. However, my teachers, by having incorporated SEL practices, I was able to persevere. For example, they made us do quick writes about how we were feeling, and this allowed me to share with my classmates my emotions and my own experience. And by telling them about my culture and about my own personal experiences, I was able to form meaningful friendships. Also, they made us do a sign in at the beginning of the class where they were asking us how we were feeling. And when they gave me this form, I felt like I had a supportive community that actually worried about me. So the teachers noticed I was feeling sad, so they reached out to me and they shared mindfulness techniques. They shared very meaningful ways to handle my stress. And this really allowed me to persevere as a student. And now, after having turned a year living here, I feel completely different. I got the opportunity to excel academically and start getting involved in leadership positions within the district. I feel like SEL guided me through this process, and I really recommend it for everyone.
That's so great to hear. I'm so glad that you've been able to be involved in these leadership positions due to social emotional learning. Having these opportunities and having those check-ins can really support us students. Karen, I would like to ask you now, what did you feel like the connection between social emotional learning and mental health was?
So in my school, we basically have this thing, we call it an advisory. I'm pretty sure you guys have it too, but we go to advisory every single day at the start of the day. And every Friday, we've made it a tradition in our school to meet together, and we call it a circle. And basically, that's where we're able to kind of connect with each other, also kind of like an AP research, and share our thoughts about things that are happening at school in our own life. But this is more specific to our own advisory, and I've been here since my school is a 6 through 12, so I've been with the same advisory for 7 years now. And as a senior that's going through the college process, having circle in every single Friday with my classmates that have that are also going through the same thing was super, super helpful because I was able to share things that I was stressed about, things that aren't going right, things that we're excited about in the college process. So I think having those SEL practices implemented for so many years and with the same group of people, I think it's just really helped stress levels, and just made mental health a lot healthier. And I know it's not only for me, but also the people who are in my class.
Thanks for sharing, Karen. It's really great to hear that it helped you, especially with college application season, because I know a bunch of families and students are first generation. And when it comes to exploring this really stressful and difficult process, having that support system in advisories can help support student mental health. Now, Monse, can you add on about your inputs and what connections you had?
Yeah, so I want to share a little bit about my story. I actually struggle with anxiety, and I kind of began my struggle with anxiety my middle school year, and I started having panic attacks in 8th grade. And so a lot of the things that I was learning in school was, very, very school based, like math, science, English. But I like how now we're having more social emotional learning. Whereas if that was implemented when I was going through, panic attacks, I would have learned a lot more about my own anxiety. But thankfully, I was also able to get support through my mom. She was able to notice the signs of me having panic attacks because I personally did not know that that was what I was going through. So she was able to get me support. I was able to go through therapy and gain the tools and the SEL knowledge on how to kind of manage it. So I think now that SEL is being implemented in schools, it's great, especially for low-income communities and communities who usually don't have the resources to learn about mental health issues. Now we're really able to open those doors for us and kind of gain that knowledge, so that way we're not kind of being left behind.
Thank you for sharing that short story, Monse. I know it means a lot to you, like your experience and growing from it. And it inspires so many other students who can also relate and can feel like now, like seeing your example can inspire them to help use social emotional learning to help benefit their mental health and their journey. So thank you for that. Ryan, I want to ask you the same thing. What connection did you see?
So basically, is my mic better now? Okay. So basically, I currently have a like advisory class where we have PSW come to our classes and we have like meditation, and it really helps in high school because there's so many AP classes and it's really stressful for a bunch of students. And having that opportunity really helps us to like calm down and implementing it into our classes. Like I see for bunch of high school students that they're able to like calm down and they're not as stressed because we have so many tests and assignments that everyone's always constantly stressed. So I feel like adding SEO just really helps those students.
Thank you all so much for sharing this question. Now, I would like to move to our next question. How can parents, guardians, and other trusted adults begin to support you through social emotional learning? So, for this one, I want to start off with you, Monse.
Yeah, so I think the easiest way is kind of just starting simple conversations. You can learn a lot from another person by just asking how their day was, or I know in my family, we really love to have family dinners, and it just gets us to talk about our days, talk about any challenges or obstacles we encountered throughout the day. I also want to underline the importance of breaking through intergenerational trauma and any stigma. I know that a lot of families, especially those of color, and sometimes it's uncomfortable to speak about our feelings. But it's very, very important that we push past that and be able to open these conversations so that we can create a safe space for youth and for adults to really speak on how we feel before it becomes too late or becomes a mental health issue.
Yeah, I agree. I believe that having that sense of community and that safe space can help us when it comes to supporting student education. So this is how social emotional learning can be worked with our parents and guardians. Adding on to that, Kieran, how do you feel about this?
If I look at I think the trusted adult at school that I confide in or just like connect with the most, I think immediately of my AP research teacher, and I think that the reason why I feel so not like closer to her than other teachers is because she's established, like kind of like what Melissa said, she's established an environment where we are given space to openly share what's on our minds, how we're feeling, and we aren't like forced to overshare, or we aren't forced to say specific things. If we would just want to keep it like a one word answer, then that's what's accepted. And then over time, I've seen our class grow so much, like because we come from different advisories, we aren't always in the same room together. So in our AP research class, it's a bunch of different girls from different advisories that aren't usually together. So these are people who wouldn't be as connected as they usually would. So because my teacher has been able to establish a open environment where it's free of judgment and you're just given space to share how you feel, I think that's why we've really been supported through our mental health because of SEL. So I think the biggest thing is just creating an environment, like Melissa said, that is like you are free to share how you're feeling without any judgment or any stigma. And just yeah, I think that's the biggest thing.
Yeah, I feel like having that environment without judgment and stigma is something that can help create students feel connected. And I'm so glad to hear that you were able to do that in your classes and meet new people and create that stronger community. Ileana, I want to ask if you want to add on to anything as well.
Yes, I also believe that it's extremely important to form a supportive community, not only in school, but also outside with our family and friends. Um, we may reinforce SEL techniques without even noticing, for example, by practicing talking about mental health, which sometimes can be untalked, especially amongst like the Latino community. There's a lot of stigma surrounding mental health. So by promoting awareness of mental health issues, or even giving advice to our friends, for example, on breathing techniques, on how to handle stress, on how to handle our own emotions, we are able to create change regarding these issues. And overall, just by practicing active listening and respectful communication, we are able to help people without even noticing that they might need help. So I believe that SEL is very important, but we also need to start practicing it to make it more common.
Yeah, I think you brought up a really good point about how social emotional learning, we are doing a little aspects of it without even knowing. So, like, knowing that these opportunities, hearing from all of your experiences help students, we can work to incorporate it more often in our education and learning. Ryan, I want to ask you the same thing. How do you feel like the parents, guardians, and other trusted adults support you through social emotional learning?
So I touched, sorry, I touched bases on this earlier, where my history teacher always asks us about how we're doing and stuff like that. But what he also does is that he's also very open-minded. So whenever students go, they don't feel pressured. They don't feel like they have to go around an adult. For for many students, being around an adult is like kind of scary for them to open up. But I feel like my history teacher is always very open to students, and he always gives his last names. He's never like, against you. He's always done it in a way he can, and I feel like that's very important for parents and teachers and guardians to connect to, because if you're not open-minded to your student, then they're never gonna like open up to you. And I feel like my history teacher does like such a good job of that. So that's my experience in my school.
Um, Thank you for sharing, Ryan. Um, Now I want to move on to our next question. Ed Week is published by a report stating that America has youth mental health crisis in 2021, where 46% of high school students said that they were struggling with mental health issues. So this is a two-part question. So the first one is, what have you found that helps you during moments of crisis and stress? And the second one is, why is it important for us to have candid conversations about mental health and break that stigma? So I want to start off with Ileana. Please provide us with your input on this. Thank you.
For me, in moments in stress, I really enjoy talking with friends or someone that I can trust about my concerns. Doing exercise or any type of physical activity really helps me. Also, by finding a hobby, something I'm very passionate in, such as playing the piano, I am able to express my negative emotions and turn them into something good and even feel better. I believe it's extremely important to have conversations with our classmates and teachers regarding mental health, and finding ways of promoting SEL is very important, so we are able to start helping our classmates who might be feeling lost. For example, me in my peer counseling class, we had an active listening session where we had to listen to the other person's concerns or anything they wanted to share about their day. And one of them was feeling very bad. He was not telling anyone until that class when we asked him, and I was able to help him and support him. And then we talked to the teacher, and he got the appropriate resources for him. So it's extremely important to start allowing these spaces of communication and of empathy, so we are able to start helping each other.
Thank you for sharing. I really like the peer counseling thing that you brought up because I feel like our peer to peer communications are really important because sometimes your peers understand things in a different way, and that relationship that you have is really strong and going to help students. So, next, I want to ask Karen the same thing. What have you found during moments of crisis and stress, and that helps you, and why is it important to have these candid conversations?
Hello, can you guys hear me? Yes? Okay. So I think a lot of my stress right now at this moment it surrounds around school. And so I think when I'm, for example, studying and I might feel very overwhelmed, what helps me is maybe change the environment where I'm studying. So I like to go study a lot at this local cafe that's near my house. That really helps my mental health because I feel like if I'm in an environment that I really like and is aesthetically pleasing to me, then I think I'll feel a lot more motivated to be like do the work that I have to do. Another thing else is connecting with my community. We have a really big community here in Los Angeles. My parents are from Oaxaca, so there's a really big Oaxacan community here in Los Angeles, and we always have a lot of community events that I like to attend because I think it helps me de-stress just being around people that look like me, come from similar backgrounds. And then also I like to do my nails, so it's just things that I like to do to kind of not ignore, but maybe refocus my energy, take a break, and then come back. So that's a lot of that's stuff that I enjoy doing.
Yeah, I really love hearing about the little things that you do that make you happy. It's like those de-stressors are really great to help relax and recharge and restart and be ready to go. So it's really good that you're able to take into consideration what you like. So advice would be for everyone else to look for the little things and find the community, like your Oaxacan community. I love how it's so strong and you're able to be involved. So those things are really good. Monse, I want to ask you as well, what have you found during moments of crisis and stress that helps you? And why is it important for us to have candid conversations about mental health and break stigmas?
Yeah, so one of the things that really helped me, especially when I was going through panic attacks or any kind of anxiety, I really turned to reading, specifically fiction books, because it kind of allows me to go into like my own little world or a different world and kind of take a break from everything that's going on in the real world. And so that's kind of my way of refocusing my energy as well. I also love to do exercise. So if I'm getting a little heated or I need a little break and like release some energy, I love to either play basketball or go for a run. Yeah.
Thank you so much for your tips, Monse. And I like how you like do things that are outdoorsy, such as like basketball and going for a run. Sometimes connecting with nature, just going outside helps people recharge and reconnect. And now moving on to our last question. As a student, what is something that you guys hope for educators, parents, and guardians tuned in right now to take away from this panel? So I want to start off with you, Karen. What's your big takeaway?
I think that the biggest thing is that SEL is just incredibly important. I think that school without SEL is kind of like going to school without recognizing that the students are actual human beings who have emotions, who have ideas, who have thoughts. So SEL is so necessary so that school can go just beyond learning the academics, learning math and English and history, but also learning about the relationships that we can create, establishing connections, and actually enjoying our time in school. Because I think if it wasn't for the SEL practices that we have here, I wouldn't enjoy school as much as I do now, because it's not only, oh, I'm going to go to school because I'm really passionate about history and I want to learn more, but it's also, I'm going to school because the people there make me feel comfortable and because I'm excited to be in school, connect with my peers. So I think the biggest thing is that SEL is so crucial so that we're not only learning and enriching like our academic minds, but also growing as students and people.
Thank you so much for sharing, Karen. I totally agree that how it can like work with our education and help us grow as people. Next, I want to ask Monte the same thing. What is your big takeaway?
Yeah, I think even starting small and starting those conversations at home or with your peers or as a teacher in school, that can really open the doors to a lot of these SEL topics and a lot of these SEL conversations. Definitely just making sure that you're the one taking the step into um, conversating with those people in your lives. You never really know what they're going through until you start those conversations. So push through any kind of stigma or any kind of trauma and just try to build connections.
Yeah, I agree. Those connections and community can help us be like have a better state of mental health and grow together as a community. And it's something that can help us find happiness in our everyday lives. Ileana, what is your big takeaway?
I would like to envision a stronger involvement of our parents and community regarding SEL practices. I believe that it's been an extremely positive experience for me, and I would like students throughout all of the country to have the same experience as me. Me, by coming from a different country and feeling lonely and feeling like I did not have a support, SEL allowed me to evolve into a leader and someone that is able to help my classmates emotionally and socially. So I would enjoy seeing other people also have the appropriate resources to be able to empower themselves. I think it's extremely important to start engaging in schools, informing the parents about different SEL resources and informing the students on how to feel better themselves. I think this is a very efficient learning and development process, and I hope we can learn to incorporate it more.
Thank you so much for sharing, Ileana. I agree that engagement and having that opportunity to be empowered and share is something that will help us. I want to now share Ryan's. His big takeaway is that he hopes teachers, parents, and guardians are taking note of how students are unique in the way that they like to deal with their stress. He wants to also address that you never know what a student may be going through. It's important for you to be open to communicating with the student and checking up on them, creating a relationship and bond. Students know that they can turn to you, and hopefully leading into a social emotional learning or style conversation. Oftentimes, you are the pillar of support for students when they need help dealing with their mental health and their learning. Um, I want to share my own takeaway that I got from hearing my peers. My biggest takeaway is I would like the educators, parents, and guardians to connect with their own community of students and ask for their input. Here, we were able to provide you all with our panel of students so we can share, and connecting with your own students and empowering them can help them with their own social emotional learning. So now I would like to ask you viewers, do you guys have any comments or questions for us panels? Okay, so I see our first question. What do you think? What do you think your academic performance would be like without social emotional learning skills and supports that you've had? So I can start off with asking you, Karen. How do you feel like that would have been affected?
So at my school, I think we have a very big culture about just like we stress a lot here at my school. We're a really small school. So whenever we're stressed about a test or something that might, like a big project or AP exams, for example, I know that as a community, we can really feel that stress together. And I think that if I didn't have like a environment where I could share my stress with people who are going through the same thing, and especially teachers who understand how we're feeling, I don't think I would feel as maybe understood. And then I think just being able to share the the same feelings with everyone else kind of makes me feel like, okay, like I'm not alone in this stress. And I think if everyone feels this way, I think I'm gonna do okay. So having a community where I can share these feelings of nervousness kind of helps me cope with any academic nervousness that I might have. And I think in return that helps me perform better because I know I'm not the only one and people are also in the same boat as me.
Yeah, knowing that we're all in this together can truly help us in our academic performance and help us excel because having a community and doing it together is better than doing it on your own. So social emotional learning can help with that. Montse, how do you feel like it's affected your experience with your academic performance?
Yeah, I think if I hadn't had those SEL resources or support specifically in middle school, my life could have turned out way differently than it is right now. I was hitting a point of like really high anxiety and not wanting to go to school and not wanting to really continue with my learning. So if I hadn't found those tools to really manage my anxiety, I more than likely would have been taking a way different route than what I am now. So I think it is extremely important to share those SEL resources and just really, again, opening up those conversations so that all students are able to excel.
Yeah, it's really good to hear that you were able to get the support, and that's something that we hope all other students can get. Ileana, do you want to share about yours?
I also believe I would not be the person I am without ESL. ESL has empowered me in a very positive way. Now I am able to be a positive leader of my community, and I hope everyone can start engaging in ESL because it can definitely change you for the better.
Yes, I agree. Social emotional learning can help us be our future leaders and student leaders because we have the community and the backing to help us both in our academics and our mental states to make sure that we are happy and ready to be here. And now I want to share what Brian said. So he said personally, he can see the effects in his mental health on his academic performance. By talking to teachers, he was able to find solutions to mitigate his stress and find ways to succeed in class. So, is there another question or comment that we have from the viewers for our panel? For our next question, it's do we have any wellness centers on your campuses? And what are your thoughts on school wellness centers? So, I'll start with you, Monte.
Yeah, so at my school, we do have a wellness center, and I do kind of have mixed feelings. I love it, but I also think there's definitely room for improvement. So, our wellness center, what I really love about it is that they have a peer advocacy program. So, you can go in there, find some peer to peer support. I think the room for improvement is definitely the hours in which they're open. I remember I was having a very difficult day on my junior year, and I had an AP Chem test the next period, and my anxiety was through the roof. Like I was crying, I was breathing really hard, and I was all like, "Oh, there's a wellness center. Let me go to the wellness center." And I get there, and they're closed. So I didn't know what to do with myself, right? Luckily, my dad is a teacher at my school, and he's letting me use his classroom right now. But I was able to have obviously a support person on campus. But if there's somebody else, another student who doesn't have that, I would be, I don't know what they would be, where they would be able to go to. Specifically, the wellness center is kind of what that support is supposed to look like. And at the time they were closed. So I think that's definitely something we can work on, but we do have a wellness center on campus.
Thank you for sharing your experience, Monse. I'm glad that you were able to have that support system and your dad on campus. So that's something else students can look for. Like knowing that you have a trusted adult is something that can be really supportive. And looking into accessibility of wellness centers, I think that's something that we can all work on and maybe ask your schools to see if they can find accommodations to help students. And I want to ask Karen, do you have any experience with the school's wellness centers at your school?
Yeah, I think we have one room where all the counselors are for the school. So we have this is the the high school counselors, and that room kind of doubles as a wellness room. What it looks like is we might have some posters on the wall. They have some posters with at my school we're really big on growth mindset, so we have a lot of posters that reflect kind of empowering messages about if we don't get it, we aren't there yet, and there's things about how to practice mindfulness and mindful breathing because a lot of people go there when they're extremely stressed. So I think that's one of the biggest resources that we have, especially again, senior year. College app season was very stressful. So a lot of seniors were in that room, maybe asking questions to the counselors or just being there because we might be stressed and need a little bit of time out of class to just recharge and then prepare to go back. So I definitely think the wellness centers have been super, super helpful. I had a different experience in Monse where we thankfully did have that room open, but which is so beneficial. So that's why we need them open and running throughout the school hours. So I definitely love the wellness center at my school, and I think it's extremely helpful, especially during times where a lot of students are extremely stressed and just need somewhere to recharge.
Thank you for sharing, Karen. I'm really glad to hear that your school and your students have been able to productively and proactively take use of the wellness center. I know senior year was really stressful for a lot of students. So having that support, especially with students who are exploring the system and sometimes they need a break, the wellness center is a really safe place to go at school. Ileana, can you share your experience as well?
Yeah, we also have a wellness center in my school. We have three PSWs, which are psychiatrists, social workers. One is specifically aimed toward low income students, another one is for all the school, and the third one is for students with special disabilities. So I think that by having a very dynamic approach and very supportive um, community for every type of student, it has been able to help all of us. I've seen a lot of students that have been encouraged by the wellness center where if they feel sad or they need someone to talk to, they go there and they have been very supportive to all of us. Or even if we don't need to talk and we just need a space to relax and feel more recharged, they have a special living room for us to stay in where they have pamphlets regarding specific mental health techniques we can improve on. They have mental health board games, which are very fun because we can talk about it with our friends, but at the same time learn on how to feel better. And overall, I think the Wellness Center has been very contributing to my learning process because I have also been there a lot. And I hope all schools can have a wellness center.
Thank you so much for sharing, Ileana. I really liked hearing that you're hearing about your experience and how it helps support you. It reminded me at my school, in actually all of my classrooms, each teacher has something they call a calming corner. So it kind of reminds me of your wellness center with like different, there's like a couch or a little place to sit, there's toys, books, and de-stressors. And for me, that's something that's really useful because it's in every single class. I just let the teacher know, or we let the teacher know, and we do our work in class or from there. So that's a really good thing that we have. And my school's wellness center actually had their own table set up today during lunch. So it was really good to see that. Brian shared that his school doesn't have a wellness center, but he believes it'll be a great resource because he knows students in his school are have that stress from their AP classes, and having a place to decompress would be really beneficial to them. So thank you all for sharing. I want to thank my peers so much for providing such great input. And now I would like to leave you all with a final message. According to research, when students develop healthy social and emotional skills, they are shown to improve attendance and grades. They're seen to be happier. They are also more likely to attain a college degree, participate civically in the future, and enjoy better mental health. This year's Virtual Summit's theme is Today's Students, Tomorrow's Leaders. So, as we continue our learning journey today, we want you all to remember that your students come from many diverse backgrounds, as we talked about today, and we all bring rich and unique perspectives and experiences that should be celebrated in our classrooms by all school community members. We want our supportive teachers who will help us thrive and succeed beyond the classroom and in the future, empowering us with the ability to take on leadership roles, share our cultures, and talk about mental health while also creating trusting relationships with our school admins and our peers is really important to us all. A good start can be something as simple as I'm glad you're here. So we wish you all a happy social and emotional learning day. Thank you all for coming to listen to us, and we hope this has been really beneficial to you all hearing our input, and we want to make sure that this is something that can help students across our nation and district-wide in your school districts.
And thank you so much. What an amazing panel. So congratulations. And as I mentioned in the chat earlier, that this panel was completely developed by these students. They developed the questions, had a fabulous moderator, and what deep and insightful responses. Just amazing. So thank you so much to this panel. And I'd like to invite everyone here to think about what are, boy, it was just a lot in that whole conversation. Think about what's one of your key takeaways from this session. So feel free to go ahead and everyone just post in the chat what's one of your key takeaways from this session. And fabulous. So just think about that, and I'm sure we're going to have some very interesting takeaways from this group. I thought that really interesting hearing people talk about these young people talk about their own experiences with what it was like to have kind of structured social emotional learning, and the benefit that they had from that. Let's see, got empowering students yields great results. Well, there you go. That was certainly demonstrated today. And yes, power of peer counseling was one of the takeaways from today. Absolutely. And yes, this was a fabulous conversation. Thank you all. Such fantastic insights and so beautifully shared. As Amy stated earlier, you give us all hope. And thanks to each of you for your candor and intelligence and the sense you give that you will be able to make a positive difference going forward in a world that sorely needs it. Absolutely. As educators, we're on the right track, but still more work to be done. Absolutely. So again, feel free. Oh, okay. So given authentic questions, and they certainly were authentic questions, so much rich insight and wisdom. Absolutely. Definitely. All right. So just fabulous. And what a perfect way to round out our day. Our SELDAY 2024 summit, that this was certainly an amazing example of having today's students clearly, not even tomorrow's leaders. These are today's students, leaders today. So we have a couple of other comments that folks have made that school staff should talk to the students and involve students more in creating environments where we all can thrive. And yes, we got another call. I think it's great that the students are talking about growing in SEL skills without a political bias or ideology. Right. Okay. So all of these key ideas that you just got from this fabulous group of this panelists, please share those comments out. Share your takeaways out right now on social media, whatever social media you're on. If you're on TikTok, if you're on Facebook, if you're on Instagram, if you're on LinkedIn, if you're on X, wherever it is, go right on right now and post some of those insights with the SEL Day hashtag. And to wrap us up today, I would like to invite Dave Adams to join the screen.
And just like that, here I am.
And there you are, Dave. So what do you think so far of SEL Day 2024?
My God, Jim, this is our 5th year in a row of Social Emotional Learning Day. We started right in the middle of the pandemic, right? And it was all virtual. And then we came out of the pandemic after 2 years. And then across the world, we saw young people involved in social and emotional learning. We uplifted the counselors, the teachers, the social workers, the pastors, the youth community workers, everybody who supports the social emotional learning of young people. And then the president got involved. If you recall, a couple of years in a row, the president said Social Emotional Learning Day and Social Emotional Learning Week are things that are important in my administration. And now we see the young people coming to the panel thinking about what you just said, Jim. Not tomorrow's leaders, but today's leaders. So I am so excited. We had folks from the global community present with you today. We had social emotional learning and sports. We had social and emotional learning and equity. We had wonderful panels just really thinking about the role social emotional learning plays in the future of leadership and leadership today and the civic life of our country. So I couldn't be more happy to see the work that's happening in SEL Day 2024. What about you, Jim? How did you feel?
Oh, amazing, amazing. That the summit, and what a fantastic way to wrap up the day with this youth panel. I've also been paying attention to what's been happening. We've been having folks really all around the world who've been really active around SEL Day celebrations in their own communities and their schools. We're going to take a look right now. Let's pull up our slides here. Let's take a look at what we can see around. Yes, here we go. So here we are, SEL Day 2024. Today's students, tomorrow's leaders. So Dave, what do you say we take a look at the leaderboard?
Let's do it. This is the time.
All right. So here we are. Okay. Maine Department of Education is up there at the top of the leaderboard.
All right.
Just look at these different organizations. Look at the different languages we have here with our partners, that your folks at the Urban Assembly, working with us at Social Emotional Learning Alliance for the United States, but really this year also having 6 Seconds in as our international partners. Boy, look at what we see, even just looking at the leaderboard now.
Amazing, amazing. And each of these badges represents an opportunity that somebody took to uplift the idea of social and emotional learning across the world. So whether it's 20 badges, whether it's 8 badges, whether it's 1 million badges, each of these spaces represent the uplifting of the idea that social emotional learning is part and parcel of what it means to be educated in 2024 and beyond.
Indeed. And you know what, Dave?
What?
Those badges, that badge page is not closed. So there is still the chance, if you're out there.
Social Emotional Learning Day is not yet over, Jim. Just because the summit is coming to its conclusion doesn't mean you can't get out there and continue to promote, support, and uplift social and emotional learning. I know that's true.
There we go. So come on. Somebody's got to challenge Maine Department of Education up there. Somebody's got to get on the top of that leaderboard, or at least make it on the top of this list. One of the things that happened this week as well, that was just amazing, is that for now the second year, we have had a bill filed in the U.S. Senate, right, a resolution proclaiming this week National SEL Week.
Oh yeah.
And the time is right now for that. People can take action. If you live anywhere in the United States, or any of the territories, and you would like to see a national resolution saying that SEL is important, that this is, in fact, as we've all been celebrating, this is National SEL Day and National SEL Week. I'm so excited, Dave. I can't even talk. That folks can take action right now. If you go into onto selforus.org, advocacy, take action, the link that's in the chat right now, it literally takes 2 minutes to be able to send an email that you can customize, send that out to your own senators and say, hey, let's make sure this happens. Let's get this, let's make sure that everyone knows that this was an important week.
And Jim, I know you have some numbers here, but I've got some numbers of my own. Would you mind if I tell you a little bit about what the folks here across the world have done for SEL Week and SEL Day specifically today?
Well, that sounds just fabulous. Yes, please.
All right. Well, we know that SEL Day happens because of you. Not you, Jim, but you, the collective you, everybody out there in the audience, right? This is a grassroots organizational effort for everybody across the world and the United States to think about elevating the work in social and emotional learning. And so because this is about you, let me just tell you a little bit about the work that we've done today. So I think we could do 100,000 impressions, maybe 500,000 impressions, maybe 1 million impressions. No, we actually are already at 1.6 million impressions for hashtag SEL Day in this already, right? And we know, Jim, that not every person went online and said hashtag SEL Day because I'm doing social emotional learning, but the folks that did had 1.6 million impressions. All right, elevating work around SEL Day. Let's keep on going so you have a sense of what's going on. So we think there are about 7,000 most social media interactions online. Those are unique interactions, right? Where folks are getting out there and getting online. The biggest spaces where people were really active were Twitter and Instagram. Now, this is the second year in a row that Instagram is making a comeback on SEL Day there, Jim. So there's some work happening across social media. And more importantly, Jim, there is work happening in real life, in schools, in churches, in neighborhoods, all across the world. People spent time thinking about SEL. And thank you to the folks who posted. Thank you to folks who did the work wherever they were. And thank you to SEL for US, 6 Seconds, and all of our sponsors for helping elevate this work across the US and beyond.
And Dave, let's go ahead and let's thank those sponsors, because that really has made a difference in the ability for us to put on this kind of an amazing global celebration. So if anybody has not yet been to the exhibit page, please go there, selday.org/exhibit. We'll put that in the chat in just a minute. But really, we want to thank these sponsors who've made SEL Day possible. The advocate sponsor, Antioch University, our supporter sponsors, Second Step, Pure Edge, and Harmony Academy at National University, as well as our promoters, Responsive Classroom Fly 5, Ruler at the Yale Center for Emotional Intelligence, and Satchel Pulse. We really appreciate all of those sponsors. And Dave, let's give an extra shout out to our advocate level sponsor, Antioch. Antioch has got that amazing mission, right, to provide learner-centered education to empower students with knowledge and skills to lead meaningful lives and to advance social, racial, economic, and environmental justice. And working with 6 Seconds, they have put together one of the very, very few SEL focused, and this is SEL focused with a social justice lens, PhD programs in the world. So definitely worth checking that out. And Dave, let's also give a thank you to our SEL Day 2024 Planning Committee. Been working on this for the past year or so, but to all these folks who've worked so hard, as well as the whole team at 6 Seconds, who've been doing this amazing work. We've had folks all behind the scenes making this summit possible, as well as lots of other things on the social media. lots of folks on the urban assembly side of things, getting out media relations and press releases and managing things behind the scenes. And with SEL for US, there have been folks from SEL for US assemblies, all alliances all across the country who've been working to make this SEL Day possible. But of course, really, none of this would have happened without all of those people, all of you, everybody around the world who's been getting together to celebrate 2024 SEL Day. And Dave, what's next?
Well, if I did remember my algebra or even arithmetic, I do believe after 2024 comes 2025, and we've done this for 5 years in a row, and we will make it 6 years next year. I want to say thank you to all the people that Jim mentioned, and I also want to say thank you to all the folks that made sure that their governors and their local administrations and their school boards got proclamations out supporting social and emotional learning for SEL Day. Jim, we will be back in this same place next year with the same bat time, same bat channel, same focus on social emotional learning with a new theme so that we can continue to elevate today's leaders today's learners, tomorrow's leaders, and beyond. So thank you, Jim. We love all of the folks who came out here today, and 2025 will be even better.
Absolutely. So happy SEL Day, everybody.